Every generation since the dawn of time seems to think that it's living near the end of the world. And I'm not just talking about fear of disaster. Civilizations have collapsed. Pandemics have happened. Wars have reshaped the world. People have lost everything. Fear itself isn't irrational. The strange thing is that people are weirdly drawn to the idea of total ending. Not just things are bad, but this is the end of the world. In the last century alone, we've feared nuclear annihilation, planetary alignments, comets, Y2K, the Large Hadron Collider, the 2012 Mayan calendar, climate collapse, and now artificial intelligence. The threat keeps changing, but the feeling stays weirdly familiar, because apocalypse thinking is nothing new. It is ancient. Long before nuclear weapons, AI, global news, or people making videos titled, "This changes everything," there were stories of floods, fires, final judgments, cosmic battles. The Norse had Ragnarök. Christianity has Revelation. We look at change, disorder, conflict, and uncertainty, and our brain naturally tries to turn it into a story. And the apocalypse? It's a story that gives chaos shape. It turns scattered fear into a pattern. And humans love patterns. This is referred to as pattern recognition, and it's one of the reasons we survived. If your ancestors heard a rustle in the grass and assumed predator, they had a way better chance of living than the person who said, "Hey, let's not jump to conclusions." The human brain is built to detect danger before it is certain, because in survival terms, a false alarm is often much cheaper than ignoring a real threat. So our brains evolved to ask, what does this mean, very quickly. And that's useful when you're avoiding a predator, but it gets messier when you're looking at world events, because modern life gives us a never-ending stream of signals. News alerts, political conflict, climate disasters, economic anxiety, new technologies, strange scientific discoveries. Everything arrives instantly, constantly, and dramatically. Your brain was not built to process the emotional weight of the entire planet before breakfast. It was built to notice what was happening in the immediate environment, the village, the weather, the food supply. Now, your nervous system is handed a phone and told, "Here's every crisis on Earth. Good luck." So of course, the world feels like it's ending. You're not just worrying about your own life. You're handed a curated highlight reel of corruption and human instability. And what doesn't help is this thing called negativity bias, which is the tendency for bad news, threats, and losses to affect us more strongly than good or ordinary events. Essentially, your brain likes to treat bad news like a fire alarm and good news like background music. So, because of pattern recognition and negativity bias, believing the world is ending can actually be more comforting than knowing it's just chaotic. If the apocalypse is coming, at least there's a plot. There's a beginning, middle, and end. There's a reason everything feels wrong. But if the world is not ending, if it's simply just messy, fragile, unstable, and full of people making short-term decisions with long-term consequences, then we have a much more real problem, and that's way scarier than an apocalypse. Which brings us to how many apocalypse stories are actually renewal stories. The old world ends, but a new one begins. The destruction is awful, but it reveals something. It resets something. It purifies something. In other words, apocalypse thinking is often hope for a different beginning. When people say the world is ending, they may also just be meaning that the world as it is unbearable. They may not want literal destruction. They may want transformation. They want corruption exposed. They want broken systems to collapse so something better can appear. The apocalypse becomes a fantasy of justice, clarity, and reset, which is understandable, but it can also be dangerous. Because if you become too attached with the idea that everything is ending, you can stop participating in the world as it actually is, or stop actively trying to make it better. You can become numb, cynical, passive, bitter, and that's the trap. Apocalypse thinking can begin as trying to make sense of uncertainty, but it also can become a way of never leaving uncertainty. Maybe we need to change our perspective from nothing matters because the world is ending to things matter because the future needs to be better. Because life always somehow seems to continue. People fall in love, babies are born, bread gets baked. Some random girl makes a weirdly specific YouTube video about why humans think the apocalypse is coming for some reason. The world may feel like it's ending or that it should end, but it always constantly, stubbornly continues. But don't get me wrong, that by no means that everything is okay. Some threats really are serious. Nuclear weapons really did change the scale of human danger. Plagues could wipe out most of the population. Artificial intelligence raises real questions and concerns. And a plethora of other things happening currently. It would be dishonest to say that apocalypse fear isn't valid. The point is not that humans are silly for fearing collapse. The point is that the human brain is very bad at telling the difference between this is the end and this is really bad, because emotionally, those can feel the same. So if you've made it this far and you feel slightly suspicious that every generation has thought that it's the last, but you still kind of feel like ours might be different, that's kind of the point. Liked what your weird brain just learned? Hit subscribe. If not, that's okay. I'm sure the dead internet theory will be occurring soon anyway.